Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Father Talks podcast. I am here with my special guest, Philip Blackett. He is the founder of Life After 40, a platform dedicated to helping adults navigate midlife with clarity, strength, and purpose without burnout or extremes. Philip, welcome to the show. Hey, did I get the last name right?
You did. Thanks so much,
Yeah.
Michael.
Yeah. Thank you.
And there's a funny story to that too, real quick, on my last name, right? As far as
Okay.
pronouncing it right. Real quick, I was a freshman in high school. I went to a all boys, predominantly white high school in Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
And the culture there was we didn't call each other by our first names. We called
Okay.
each other by our last
Last
names.
name.
And mind you, Michael, I was one of two black
Okay.
kids in my freshman class
I got you by two.
with a last name of Blackett. So one day I was coming out of class and one of my friends from across the hallway saw me and wanted to get my attention. And he goes, "Hey, Blackett." But what it
Oh, it's not the
sounds like to someone who
black
doesn't know
kid.
my last name is "Hey, Black Kid."
Oh, shit.
And at that time, the principal was walking across the hallway, heard that, saw me, made the connection with the white classmate, told the classmate, "Come here."
Oh, wow.
And I had to be like, in my adolescent voice, Coach Ray, no, he didn't mean that. He didn't mean that. It's my last name, Blackett, okay?
God.
And so ever since then, I laugh when people always ask me about how to pronounce my last name because I say, just say it like it sounds,
Right.
Black Kid. Just make it real short and sweet all together so people don't actually think you're actually saying Black Kid.
Kid. Yeah, I can imagine that not going over well, you know, in like somebody sees you in the mall and they start screaming that, everybody's looking around like, oh, you know, very off-putting. So, but well, hey, listen, let's talk about this platform of yours. Tell us all about it.
So the platform is called Life After 40. Obviously, it's nothing really new for us that have gotten to this age and for the
Right.
people that have come about. So why am I doing this? The thought is, Michael, so when I turned 40 on Thanksgiving Day in 2024, I went through my own midlife crisis, meaning
Right.
like, listen, on the outside, Michael, people would say, oh, Philip, you're doing well for yourself. You went to like the right schools, you did the right jobs, you got married, you have kids that are living in your household that you are covering for. The court doesn't have to chase you for them. You are voluntarily taking care of them as you should. And you having that with your extended family across the Thanksgiving table, you have much to be thankful for. And at the time, Michael, looks can be deceiving from if you're just looking at it from the outside. At that time, I was very low in energy. I was burnt out from a business that had really taken a lot of life out of me over the past 3 or 4 years, especially during COVID. And I was overweight because oftentimes when you go through stress, food can be your best friend when no one
Fact.
else is around. So I was part of the 300 club, and I don't mean 300 the movie.
Right.
Let's just say that. And I think at that point too, I recently relocated, came from Boston down to Florida, started a new chapter. And at that point for me, Michael, I was just like, okay, where am I going with life on this? What is like the next step, the next stage, the next chapter? Do I believe the myth that a lot of people believe that is 40 really the beginning of the end for me? And so I don't have a good poker face. So I had to try my best not to let people know as they're singing happy birthday to me that I appreciate it and not like thinking about crawling in a fetal position in the corner and crying. But I realized I had to figure out something fast as far as what to change because how I viewed myself, I knew if I didn't do something soon, it was not going to just stop with myself. It was going to impact my relationship with my wife, and it was also going to impact my relationship with my twin daughters.
Right.
And so, a thing we don't often talk about in culture or just in general is how the mindset of a parent as they get older and they go through ups and downs is not limited to that person. People can lash out verbally and otherwise the pain that they're feeling inside, the confusion, the embarrassment, the I should be further along than I am right now, but I can't really confide in anyone to tell them that. So I just keep this bottled in until something comes up, reminds me of that, and I just explode. And so I realized I had to come up with some sort of resolution. Otherwise, my family would suffer, and obviously, they don't deserve that. So I went through my own kind of midlife transformation journey over the next 3 to 6 months. Got in a much better shape, had more energy, had more clarity on what I wanted to do. But then I was like, okay, that last question, what do I do from here? It came up with a question of, I wonder how many other people, especially, I wonder how many fathers and husbands are going through something like this either now or in the near future or recently have gone through it and are still recovering from it. And what can I do from my own experience getting to the other side of helping out those husbands, those fathers to be in a better position, not just for themselves for the long term to hopefully thrive in the second half of life, but also if I could help impact those fathers to be a better version of themselves. Who else would it impact along with their spouses and their children and set that leading example of when midlife happens to hit you in the mouth, you don't just fall over and quit because I can see my dad and see how he persevered through it. It wasn't easy, but I know that he was able to do it. And because he was able to do it, I can do it. And I also know that I have someone I can trust as a resource to help me through it as well. And so for that, that's where we created lifeafter40.com. And that's where that pretty much is like my mission as far as the second half of life for me to help other people thrive in the second half of life. Where ultimately, if you would ask me, Philip, what's the ultimate goal in one sentence that will keep you working until God calls you in? It would essentially be to help in the midlife crisis.
Yeah. So when we think midlife crisis, you always think, some guy just going through an emotional point in his life where he's just going out, he's just buying all these crazy things because he doesn't want to get old anymore. You know, that's what we think when we, hey, my dad's, 60 years old and he just went out and bought a brand new Harley and, two boats. That's that's always the imagery we get when we think midlife crisis. You never think that, it's depression or sadness or anything like that. You just always see the out of control spending and, that type deal. So clearly there's a little more to the midlife crisis than most of us even realize.
I mean, it's to the point too, Michael. It's just like that's where we are as a culture.
Right.
It's like accepted as like it's something that you can make mockery of. It's something that for one particular motorcycle business, hey, business is good with this segment of people.
Right.
You know, hey, like let's keep on going for it. But it also comes out of there too is you might rethink your mode of transportation. But I'd also know if we're just keeping it 100, we also probably have some men that rethink their relationships, rethinking, okay, I've been with this woman for 15, 20 years. Maybe instead of sticking it out till death do us part, I'm going to press the reset button.
Hmm.
Now, I can't get any younger, but I can go dip into the fountain of youth and
With
find
somebody.
somebody to restart it all over again with
Right.
someone 20 years younger than me.
Yeah, that's a little too much for me. I ain't got that kind of energy.
Never mind the house wrecking, the carnage, the collateral damage that will forever be a part of your life as a result of that short-term, short-sighted decision
Right.
to your existing family. But inside of it is the same sense of what is in somebody that wants to get a motorcycle at that age, or essentially asking for help in terms of clarity.
Mm-hmm.
What is my life going to be like at this stage in life? Is the best years of my life behind me? Is what does it look like for me to now like put people ahead of me, as in my family, as in my kids? What does that look like? How does that look like in comparison to other men in the workplace and what they're doing? And like
Yeah.
how they're going as far as their promotions, going on different trips, going on golf every Friday with so and so with the big boss. Like all that's playing a role, and you're getting hit from culture from your smartphones, your TVs, your social media comments. Where do we go with this whole concept of masculinity? Like, that seems like now that's up for discussion as far as can we redefine that now? Oh, well, I'm sure there's a whole segment of people that like to know if that's on the table. Can I get a memo on what to go with that?
Yeah. That's for damn
And
sure.
how I should proceed from there, because I thought the way I was taught, that was the way to go. But
Yeah.
now you want me to change that too? So what I'm saying is there's a number of different things that are hitting fathers, husbands at a certain point simultaneously. And if we don't give ourselves space to try to figure out how to give meaning to what's happening, connect with people that have been there before, be open and honest and transparent with those you trust to walk through it so you don't walk through it alone and make the wrong decision. That is where we find a lot of our men proverbially getting closer and closer to falling off the cliff. And that's
Okay.
what we're trying to solve.
I get that. So look, all right, you know what? Then let me ask you a question. When you say when you say midlife is a recalibration, excuse me, what are most men actually recalibrating?
So I look at it from the standpoint of really like 3 to 4 pillars I focus on. There's a
Okay.
number of other ones because when you're thinking about, you're looking at your life, like the facets of life. You're thinking about your life physically, mentally, socially, spiritually, relationally, financially, vocationally. You've seen this sort of stuff where it's like different facets because it's
Yes.
dealing with what's important for you. And so when you think about recalibration, it's the thought of how am I going about things to one, get the goals I'm looking to reach, or to help me become the best version of myself as a growing man, if that's a goal in and of itself. Because in some sense, some people may think, like I said, they may be thinking one of the three biggest myths we talk about that, you know, I'm 58 years old. Like it's too late for me. It's too late for me to change. I should just resolve to be content with where I'm at, not push the envelope any further, because I believe old dogs can't learn new tricks, supposedly,
About that.
and just settle in. Or the thought may come in another myth that for me as a man to try to take better care of myself, like self-care, oh, I'm sorry, like that's what women do.
Right.
We supposed to be rugged, just let our fingernails just curl over, like it just yeah, just like we were just brutes. Just hey, like what are you talking about? Just put some dirt on to keep walking. You know, the whole notion of self-care for men comes off very feminine for some people. But the problem is, in addition to that, there's a lot that goes about that self-care is seen as selfish.
I don't think men, and I've had conversations with several guests, men don't know how to put themselves first in situations where, you know what, where they, and self care doesn't have to be just, your physical appearance, your mental health, is a priority too. And we don't know how to make us a priority in any way, shape, or form because we're so, we're built to take care of everybody else, you know, and not ourselves.
Yep. And I get the part where it's like, for some people that believe more traditionally, old fashioned, right? Men being providers for your family, because that is, I believe personally, that my family is my first ministry beyond anything else. Like, don't call me for anything if I don't have my own household in order.
Right.
And so the thought is there, it's like when I think about self care as a provider, not just financially, not just food on the table, clothes on the back, but also being able to be present with my kids if they're having a bad day at school and not brushing them off because I'm trying to get this work assignment done, or it's beneath me to be even take 5 minutes to even just hear my daughter out. Because if my head is so frazzled with the demands of the world and I can't take time to get myself in a better, more present state being at home and being able to take the work stuff to side and be present for my wife and kids, one, that is actually taken away from you as a provider because they can't rely on you that way. They got to either figure it out themselves or worse yet, go to somebody else
Yeah. And as a
because the
father,
man couldn't because the man couldn't
right.
be there.
Yeah.
So it's almost like really reframing self-care for men to understand, like, yes, grooming, yes, that's part of it, right? I love cutting my own hair every
Yeah.
week. I've been doing
Me
that
too.
for almost 20 years.
Yeah. Same.
But beyond that, it's like you got to look at it from the sense of no one's going to be well attuned to your needs and your changes more than you. You have to look at yourself as advocating for yourself, not just so that you feel better, but even if you're looking out for other people, you look at this from the standpoint of this is helping me to be more sustainably there for the people I love. Because I would hate for something to happen because we didn't take care of our health properly, for example, and we left the earth 20 years earlier than we should have, where we couldn't be the man to walk our daughter down the aisle
Right.
because we physically couldn't anymore because of the decisions we made 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah. See, and I think that's a huge fear for me is to not be here for when my kids really need me. Hell, because for whatever reason, life happens. I know that, but yeah, that is a huge fear is to not be here when they really need me. Lord knows, hey, I'm not going to make it to 200 like I originally planned, but you know, still being here for as long as possible, you know, I've definitely started making like taking care of my health a massive, priority. So moving on, why do why does midlife feel harder even when life looks successful on paper?
It was harder because we've been conditioned a certain way, Michael, where we got to check those boxes on the outside. As I mentioned before, did you go to the right schools? Did you do the right jobs? Did you have the house with the white picket fence, the 2.5 kids, and the dog? Those certain things where oftentimes in midlife you find yourself reevaluating what's important to you.
Hmm.
It's like you told me when I was growing up, I had to go to this school, I had to get this type of job, I had to do these certain things. But now that I've experienced adult life for at least 20 years, I recognize I don't see it that way anymore. Like it doesn't like hustle hard mentality for me doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense if I do that first in work, last to leave, 20-hour work days, not
Yeah,
enough sleep. For what? To get the promotion I can't even live enough time to even enjoy, or at the expense of the people I love as far as relationships, strange relationship with my spouse or my kids. So what makes it hard is you're getting hit from all these different places at midlife. It's not just about the job. You got to think about your health as well. Your body isn't the same it was when you were in high school, Michael.
that is for sure. That
And
is
and
for
and,
sure.
and the issue is it ain't never getting that young. So we got to figure out how do we deal with what we have going forward. But on top of that, job, health. Well, now we're caring for people outside of ourselves, kids. Some people may be caught in what they call the sandwich generation, where on one end they're taking care of growing kids, and at the same time taking care of aging parents. Now you work through that and a job, and you tell me how stress free that is.
Can't even imagine. My parents are, I'm pretty fortunate. My parents are in relatively good health. So, you know, and well, my brother, I've got brothers and sisters that live right next door to them. So, they're doing all right. But how do, okay. So let me ask you, what are signals that that men start recognizing that, we need this recalibration?
If your idea of relaxation still revolves around a lazy boy, your favorite beverage, usually alcoholic, and 2 to 3 straight hours of entertainment on TV. Not saying it's always bad. I'm saying if that's like your go to on a consistent basis, that should be a sign because that was how my grandfather was. It's like when he finished work, what do he want to do? Have his dinner, have his drink, sit on the lazy boy,
And just
watch
watch some
TV.
TV.
And then he repeats the cycle the next day. The problem with that is, once again, our bodies are changing. Our bodies are losing muscle mass every year if we let it. Some of that time that we're spent sitting on the lazy boy, being sedentary, would be better served if we did something more productive as you want to relax, go outside and have a walk, 10 to 20 minutes. The stuff that you're eating, same stuff you're eating 30 years ago, it doesn't work for your body anymore. It doesn't work. You can't eat those honey buns like you did when you were 18.
Okay. First off, hey, you're going to stop that right now. I love some honey buns. Come on. Throw them in the microwave for like 10 seconds, whatnot, just enough to warm it up just a little bit.
I
Get-
I I hear you, and I was there too.
Oh my God.
I just can't do that every day though.
No, no, that is definitely, something I enjoy sparingly now. Like my son, he freaking loves Johnny Buns. He's like, hey, we're almost out of honey buns. I'm like, hey, stop eating 4 of them a damn day. You know, yeah, we could all enjoy them.
Came as a 12 pack.
Yeah,
We bought them on Monday. Why are you complaining on Wednesday?
yeah,
How did that happen?
yeah. I've had one. You've had them all, but
So, like, the thought is, as far as like alerts, is the thought of taking time to think about things you've been doing habitually over
mhm,
time and asking yourself the question, does this serve me now at an older age? Or you can have clear alarms for you where you're not sleeping enough and you find yourself on the injury report because of how you slept the night before and you didn't give
back.
yourself enough time to recuperate.
All right, back is just messed up. And all I did was sneeze getting out of bed.
What is going on? That's called a sign, sir. It's called a sign. So it's like, you know, maybe even another one. You finish work, you come home. Why is it your first thought to go on the lazy boy? For a lot of people, it's because a lot of men will say, you're so burnt out with low energy that that's all you can do. You can't play with your kids. You can't be present with your wife and ask how was her day and have a conversation over dinner time.
Yeah,
That's a sign. You gave the best of yourself to work and your home is having the leftovers, which is very little. And repeat that enough times, you set yourself up where your relationships with the people that mean the most to you are much different than what they could have been. So, like, those are just a couple examples, but the thought is that, we're talking about fathers here.
yeah. Oh
The
yeah,
th- the thought is that if you believe that your family is your first ministry, the people that are in your household, you ultimately have to be held accountable for the care of the people that are in your household. if you're not in a place where you feel like you can be actively present with them, supporting them for the long term, and teaching them along the way, as opposed to just delegating that to YouTube
Right.
or delegating that to Facebook or delegating that to their peer group at school and whatever popular culture says there. That's where I think the warning light should show up on your dashboard and say, "Hey, what are
We
we
need to
doing
fix.
here?"
Right. So what are first steps men need to do, what you would suggest for men to do to, to start kind of reclaiming them, their life where they're not always tired or they're more engaged with their families. What are the first things we should do after we recognize that, hey, I kind of have an issue here?
So I think the first thing, Michael, I'd say is listen, and this is kind of like what I went through when I went through my own crisis. Ask yourself the question, who benefits if I'm able to be my best version of myself more
Mm,
consistently? Because oftentimes we'll give ourselves a pass and let ourselves down before we let somebody else down.
okay.
And so oftentimes having somebody or somebodies to say, hey, like they're dependent on me to be the best version of myself, to be the best man possible. That's something that you can anchor and say, hey, that is my reason why. And so from there, once you have your reason why really clear on why that's the case, then you ask yourself, okay, what lies am I believing that I need to debunk and replace with something more truthful? The three most common ones that come up top of mind for me is, like I said earlier, it's too late for me to change. Self care is selfish, especially for men. And then the third one is, with everything I got going on, Michael, I don't have time to be better.
Mm,
Well, last time I checked, Michael, everyone has the same 24 hours if you make it in a day. So it's not really about time. It's just more about priorities. What's most
yeah.
important to you?
And I
If
was
you
just,
just
that was,
talk,
oh, no, no, you're good. I was just going to say, I would think this would be how you're using your 24 hours. You know, if are you making the most out of every day? And I understand. And again, I understand that work is hard. Life gets hectic. I've been there. Like most people, and I find that well, at least I found that making prior making things certain things a priority over other things. Hey, what can wait today? Because like spending time with my kids extremely important. Granted, they're getting older, they've got their own lives, but any opportunity I get to be with them, spend time with them, hang out with them, I try to make the most of it because again, 52 years old, I've got more life behind me than I do ahead of me at this point. So I want to make sure that I am making the absolute most of the time that I have. And that is something that took me time to figure out how to do that. And I'm actually Um, I won't even say I have it figured out now. You know, it's still something I'm working on, to make sure that I'm not prioritizing things that could wait, you know, over, family or, things that I should be doing. And so with you doing more men need to hear about, hey, this opportunity, taking these steps because I'm telling you, none of us have a plan. You know, I'm I've just been stumbling through life, kind of figuring it out as I go along,
mhm,
you know. So I think that you are set up in a great position because more men need to hear this and the more men who realize that, damn, I do need to prioritize different. Or, I am, you know, in this slump and there's gotta be somebody out there who can help me. So Philip, I mean, what you're doing, I think is phenomenal and more people we need to do more for more people to hear about this because I hadn't even thought about this in the way that you've described it. Because like I said, earlier, I thought midlife crisis is just, hey, a dude that just wanted to still be young is just out buying a bunch of random stuff, and it is definitely is. I'm learned today that, hey, it is definitely much deeper than that.
Like it's a spectrum. It's like everyone thinks, once again, from culturally speaking, midlife crisis is like the far few, which I get it. It
Mm,
might be the extreme, but it's a spectrum from someone just gripping with the fact of, you know, I'll put it in myself. When I start getting gray hairs, there is a shock value. There is a culture shock moment that you have to adapt to. Am I going to have to start investing in just for men, or am I just going to have to rock the salt and pepper look going forward, knowing that it's not all evenly gray? It comes
right.
in bits and spurts. Now, luckily, mine has worked out for the most part, but that's not the case for everyone.
Yeah,
For
my
some
my
people, for some people, it might be as simple as just one dot in the head just starts losing hair. It just is like everywhere else is covered, but that one dot. And for some reason, it has like the propensity to just expand.
yeah.
You don't get a
That's
say
how,
in it.
hey, that's how mine was, but mine started in the front right here. You know,
You don't
had
get
to
a
dress.
vote on that, Michael. You didn't. No, life didn't say, Michael. We're going to get to the bald stage here. Where would you like it to start, and when would you like? When would be convenient for you?
Yeah. Um,
And
I have been
so,
bald in my early 20s.
basically, it's like one side of it maybe just adaptation, inconvenience. You're recognizing reality, but it can go all the way to the end where it's like you have a crisis moment, you're going about it by yourself, you don't have someone or a resource that can help you through it, you're trying to figure it out on your own, and then you mess around and you're now like the lead story on the national news for a decision you made that you can't reverse ever again, that's not going to have an impact on other people because of how you were trying to process that. And so I think that's a big thing there, where it's just like understanding it's not about just that one moment, that crisis moment. A lot of people, it leads into it. So we want to get ahead of it. We don't have enough time or enough places where people of older generations telling our younger men, hey, I know you like in your 20s, sir, and I know you're like in your 30s. I know you think you're invincible. I know you think you know it all, sir. I was there. But let me give you a preview of what's going to happen that next decade. Just so when it happens to you, if you live long enough, you don't freak out the way I did,
Right.
because it's coming. And one of the things I recognize is that one of the commonalities amongst men in general, and I could broaden out to just humans in general, you live long enough. When you approach midlife, and I usually say 35 to 55 years age, and you and I are both in it, sir, you're going to experience some things that you think is completely unique to you, but you talk to enough people, they'll be like, yep, I've been there too. You lost a parent? I was with you. I've been
Yeah.
there. I got the gray hairs. Yep.
Still
Skin
there.
tags. Got them. Yep. Get injured on the injury report just from sleeping. Got them. Kids all of a sudden don't want to spend much time with you. Got them. But we don't have that sense of community amongst ourselves where that can be shared. And that's probably part of the problem, because we have so many people going through this similar life experience alone for the first time. But it's like if you just knew what other people were dealing with, you would do better. It's like Maya Angelou said, if I know better, I do better. But there's a lot of men out there that don't know any better because they don't know what's out there. And there's a lot of men that aren't sharing that.
So then, how do you help busy fathers build consistency? Without being extreme.
I think it comes down to what's most important to you, because there's no, like, I always go off of the fact, Michael, that I favor consistency over intensity. You can't make up for lost time trying to be double or triple what you would have done before,
Right.
right? Like if you're trying, like, you know, if you're trying to meet a weight limit personal record of 400 pounds, you don't just get in the gym and put on 400 pounds and think to yourself, I'm just gonna bang that one out.
Yeah. No. And let me tell you, I've seen guys do that. It is not ended well. It is not ended well.
What tends to happen is you have people that started off with just 100 pounds. And of course, you get the gawks and the looks like, dude, like, why are you going 100? That's just like puny weight.
Got to start
I was,
somewhere.
leave me alone. Let me do my thing. Okay, you focus on you. Go from 100 to 150. A few weeks later, 200. A few weeks later, 250. You see what I'm going?
But yeah,
Then you get to that 400. It's the consistency of building yourself up there. And I think it makes a lot of sense for people in the weight room, and it should make a lot of sense for men in the living room. What are the core things that are most important for you, for your family? And instead of harping on your kids, this got to get done this way right now, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Just have a conversation. Hey, girls, you're getting up there in age that part of a life skill for you to learn as you get older is to learn how to take care of yourselves because mommy and daddy are not going to be here forever. One of the things you're going to have to learn is that when you wear clothes and they get dirty, you got to put them in the hamper.
yeah,
Don't put them on the floor. Just little baby steps. Don't put it on the floor. Put it in the hamper. You start doing that. Okay, the next thing. Okay, now you got them in the hamper. It's full. Let me introduce you to the washing machine. Let me share with you. This is how much you put in the washing machine. Don't overdo it, or else we're gonna have water everywhere, and Dad's gonna be upset. I'm gonna start you small. Just do the packet. Don't eat it.
right.
I'm just give you the packet. Put that in there. Next, and introduce you to the dryer. After that, now I'm gonna teach you how to fold. Because we're not gonna just keep our clean clothes in the hamper and then they all get all wrinkled.
Yeah. Until
And
my
then you
son
put
that.
them in your closet, in your dresser, and you repeat that same thing next week. It sounds very elementary, but that is a good analogy for men to think about, or fathers to say, how do you build consistency over time? You walk your kids, your family up to that mark step by step, and you stick with it over time. You help them understand why it's important for them, and you are gracious as they work through it because they're not going to get it all right this first time.
The first, right.
But that's what
So
people are going to remember, especially when they get older. Like, man, I remember when my dad taught me how to drive. I must have ran over 5 or 6 cones, but he put me on an empty parking lot at least. Or man, you go to college. I'm so glad my dad taught me how to wash clothes because now I got to do them for real. I can't ask mom to come over here and take my clothes back home with me. So it's like those things that people will remember that's gonna be part of your legacy as a father for your kids. They will remember that stuff because how you were consistently from the start to the finish.
okay. So Philip, um, what are what are three non-negotiables you recommend for men over 40?
One, midlife is not a crisis, it's a recalibration. Two, midlife is worth living and worth living well.
Mm, I like that.
Three, my family is my first ministry. So when it's all said and done, I have to answer to somebody on how I went about stewarding my family that I was blessed to have. It's not going to be a credit to anything else I do in the boardroom, on the athletic field, in the weight room. None of that stuff's going to matter if the family I was given, I was blessed with, I didn't take good care of them. I took care of myself to be a better provider and a better father, a better husband for my family that needs me the most. I'm not going to let them be raised or supported by some other man. That is what I would say when you think about pride you should have as a husband and father. It's like, listen, I went through tough times. I got through it knowing that midlife was worth living and worth living well. And I made the investments in myself so I could take better care of my family. So I leave the type of legacy for them that when I'm no longer here, they look back at the time I was here and they say, Michael was a good man.
Now that's something I can say. You know what, man, I hope that when I'm gone, my kids will remember my effort. You know that hey, I was always present. You know that I tried to prepare them as best for life as as possible, without especially without me being here. You know, just just that they remember that it was always about them. I've never, worried about myself more than what I could do for my kids. And I pray that, what, once I'm gone, those are the things that, they sit around talking about when they bring up dad. It's not that all just that time dad grounded us for 3 weeks, or it's not that time that dad made us, go in the backyard and move the wood log pile from one side of the yard to the other, because we got in trouble. I want them to remember, all the life lessons and whatnot. Fingers crossed that, hey, I've done those things, and we we end up on good terms, or we stay on good terms rather.
And here's the thing too: women aren't the only ones that have daddy issues. Some
Yeah.
men do too.
Oh, that's a fact.
And the thought is, Michael, and I'm sure you probably experienced this. One of the things about parenthood that they don't often talk about, especially as a father, as you start raising that young kid, that baby, that toddler, you're going to have moments where you revisit your own childhood.
All
You,
the time.
you all of a sudden got memory lane in your head, thinking about how your father was to you, whether he was present or whether he was absent, whether he was loving or whether he was hurtful. And at that moment, you're going to recognize you have a choice to make as you have these memories in these moments. Am I going to repeat what my father did to me, or am I going to do something different with the remaining time I have with my kids? Because one of the things that grounds me, Michael, is the fact that my kids are 9 years old by the end of this month.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm at halftime. I
Yeah.
kept them alive. We survived. Now the real work comes in because I can't shelter these kids anymore. They're exposed to the world. They're learning stuff I never taught them. Now
Right.
the real work becomes, necessary as a father. And I'll tell you this, personally, the level of engagement I have with my kids, I never had that from my father. This was a moment I had to decide how I was going to be because 9 years from now, they're out the house.
And that time fly. Let me tell you, I've got two in the house. The rest are all out, married, doing their own thing. I can tell you the time flies so fast. Every year, it just goes by faster and faster. And once they're out, and then it goes even faster. Like, what? Everybody's graduated. I've got one more in high school. And it is like flying by. She'll be a senior next year. So,
And the good part
um,
about it, at least for you, was you kind of had staggered.
yeah,
No, well, one's you got a younger one, an older one. Okay, whatever I miss with the older one, I can catch up on the young one. I got two the same age,
yeah,
so 9 years from now, it's done.
yeah,
It's done. Like you can't say, I wish I could bring them back to toddler age. I wish I had them back in. No, it's done. Once they turn 3, it's over. You can't go back to 2.
right.
Once they're
Yeah,
18, you can't come back to 16. It's done.
yeah. And it's funny because me and my wife, we actually sit around. We see pictures of our boy when he was 3. Like, oh my god, why didn't we have more? Why didn't we do this? Why didn't we do that? I'm a grandfather now too. And let me tell you, I had my grandson for an entire day, and it reminded me that no, I don't want to do this shit again. Nope.
I was about to say it's either you or your wife. They're gonna say, I can tell you why we're
Well,
not having any more.
nope. Listen, it was an absolute joy to have him, but I don't think I could do the all day, chasing somebody around, the, constant diaper changes. Oh, you got to eat. Oh, you need this. Oh, you need that. You know, I loved it, but I don't think I miss it that much.
Mm-mm.
So, but so moving on before we close and whatnot. So, how does faith shift how men think about health and purpose?
Think one of the things, Michael, for a lot of people, and sometimes you could just notice it just from opening your eyes. There was somebody in the making that created all this. I'm not smart enough to create my own self.
Right.
I'm not smart enough as far as to create my own children. They just inserted the lesson, hey, here's where you put your input, and then 9 months later, you have kids. Well, that sounds easy, but how that actually works, I have no idea how that would ever make or shape or work. but there was something created for that, meaning there's something bigger than myself.
Right. And
And it's
I wholeheartedly believe that.
and the thought is that without that connection to something greater than yourself, it really is hard to look at life in terms of your health and purpose because you recognize, I know everyone's different as far as beliefs and that sort of thing, and that's fine. I just look at it from my own standpoint, Michael. It's just like, listen, um, somebody was involved creating all this. And that creator had a intention in mind when I was created. And I would really hate for me to come face to face with my creator later on when I'm no longer here. And he would say, what did you do with what I gave you? And by that, I mean not just your family, not just your job, not just your possessions, not just all that, your talents. What did I give? What did you do what I gave you inside you? Your body, your mind, your soul, your spirit. How did you take care of it? Did you do something that was helpful for somebody else? Or did you really just do it for your own self pleasure? Having an understanding that I owe an accounting to someone that has given me so much to be thankful for really grounds me to say, hey, listen, I don't know how long I'm going to be here, Michael,
Right.
but I want to make sure that I lay it all out there and do the best with what I can with each day. Because I'll tell you this, one of the things that like grapples me nowadays, Michael, and it never happened when I was young. When you lay down to go to sleep and you about to close your eyes for the night, have you ever had a thought that I wonder if this is it?
Yes. Oh, yes. Tomorrow, that is one thing I am fully aware of, that tomorrow is not promised.
I I wonder, and then when you wake up, you go, wow,
All right. I dodged a bullet. Let's go.
I'm here another day. That didn't happen to me when I was 18
Right.
because I never thought about it like that. What grapples with me now is that is something that like almost habitually every night comes off where it's just like there's no guarantee that when I close my eyes tonight that I'm gonna wake up tomorrow. And because of that, and just knowing how connected we are as a world today, and just seeing that everyone that was here yesterday, not all of them made it today. I think it really just grounds me into thinking, and hopefully for people listening in, it's just like, cherish the day you have and make the most out of your health and purpose because at the end of it, someone gave you that opportunity that some other people didn't. And at one point later on in our lives, it'll be our time too. So we might as well make the most of what we have, not just for ourselves, but for the people around us.
And okay, final question. If a man listening feels close to a break to if a man listening is feeling close to a breaking point, what should he do this week?
Think that if you feel close to a breaking point, because everyone's breaking point is different
Exactly.
and everyone has different options as far as when they reach a breaking point, what they do. It makes me think of what my mom taught me, not my dad, but my mom taught me this. She
Mhm.
said, Philip, I think you're really smart. You're really goal driven. She told me this when I was finishing up college. She said, Philip, what I'm concerned most about you is how you respond when things don't go your way. How are you going to respond when you hit that breaking point? Because everyone can go a spectrum of choices to make at that point, as we talked about before. And midlife was one of them for me. And so I would pose the same question to that man listening. And I would say, you have options. It's not a question of if you'll reach a breaking point, because I believe at some point when you live long enough, you will reach a breaking point. I just don't know when. I just don't know what. What I do know is that there's always a good option. There's always a good choice you can make. And the question becomes, can you give yourself enough time and space to explore and figure out what's the right alternative for me to make? What's the right decision for me to make? And if I can't make it myself, be courageous enough to ask for help and reach out to somebody to say, hey, listen, I'm struggling here. I want to make the right choice here. Can you help me? Because like I said, life is too common for people to not think that there's not someone else that been through something similar that you can't confide in and ask, help me understand this, help me figure this out, help me look at this the right perspective here so I don't make the wrong decision. Because I think at the end of the day, it's not a question of if you reach a breaking point. It's more so the question like my mom posed me, okay, what are you going to do when it happens? And the hope is that you find the right choice to make because there's always a right choice you can make.
Outstanding. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Philip Blackett. Not Black Kid, Blackett. Philip, hey, thanks for coming on the show, man. Listen, I appreciate it. Hey, I'm gonna keep following your work. Especially with me being on the other side of that 40 number. Uh, hey, I may have some questions for you. I think I'm doing all right now, but I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing with us. Um, Anything else you want to share with our guests?
So I think one thing that kind of set things up for me with this whole life after 40 thing was, you know, I'll tell you this story and I'll finish here. So my wife and I were at church one Sunday and the pastor recognized a couple for their 50th wedding anniversary. Now, at the time of this, my wife and I are a few months away from celebrating our 10th wedding anniversary. So when the pastor recognized the couple, I looked at my wife and said, man, that's pretty cool. They celebrate 50 years. I hope we can do that. She said, yeah, I think it'd be great. Sat back down, I thought about it. I said, hold up. When I got married, I was 31. I'm not the brightest in math, but last time I checked, 31 plus 50 years is 81. And my thought on that, Michael, was that's actually pretty big because my grandparents, they were married until they passed. Neither one of them made it to 80 years old.
Right.
My parents, they're divorced. There's no guarantee that either one of them will make it to 80. And I'm saying this is a goal, not so much so when I get to the 50th wedding anniversary, my wife and I can blow out the candles with whatever teeth we have left at that point. That's that's not why I would have this as a goal for me. The goal is that because to get to that destination, when you look at the journey to get to there, how many birthdays did you celebrate? How many family holidays did you come together for? Summer vacations, graduations from high school and college, the birth of your grandkids. How many of those memories do you experience along the way? That became my goal to share with my wife and my family. But I also recognize too, you can't get to 80 or 81 until you turn 40 or 41. And I'm 41 now. So the thought becomes if that's going to be your goal, that's 40 years ahead. How do you look at yourself in terms of how do you care for yourself and how do you find motivation to give it your best for the next 40 years to reach that goal? Not just for the not just for the anniversary cake, but to enjoy each one of those memories each day it comes along the way. And I think that gave me a lot of purpose for life after 40, where if I can make it to 81 and my wife
Hmm.
is with me to celebrate 50th wedding anniversary, what a journey that would be. And that's the type of journey I honestly would wish for every man listening to this, that they have a goal like that that gives them purpose and meaning after 40 to strive each day to be the best version of themselves, not just for themselves, but for the people that they love and support.
Amen. Stand it. Woo! Kind of gave me chills a little bit there. All right. Hey, Philip, thanks a lot, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. Hey, take care of yourself. We have to stay in touch. And like I said, I will definitely be following you. I'm gonna send you some information, and we'll talk some more, so I can stay in touch with you in that.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you for
Hey,
having me
thank
here.
you. Hey, absolutely. I appreciate you, sir. Have a good day.
You too.